seat here if you're here for the meeting, and we'll get this meeting underway. Just so you know, I'm Bruce Warner. I'm the president of the TriMet Board of Directors, and I am going to call the October 24th, 2012 meeting to order here in Gresham. And I want you to know that in an effort to stay connected with the community, this board has said that we would like to get out more and begin rotating our monthly business meetings throughout the Tri-County metropolitan area to again meet you and have an opportunity to talk with you about the issues of concern and things that we can do to help you be successful in making your communities the best place to live, work, and play for everybody. What I thought we ought to do is maybe real quickly allow the board members to introduce themselves to you so you know who they are. I'm going to hold off to last for you, Mr. Stovall. Craig, you want to tell them who you are and where your district is?
Okay. My name is Craig Prosser, and I represent District 7, which is primarily Clackamas County.
Good morning. My name is Tiffany Schweitzer. I represent Multnomah County, and happy to be here this morning. Thank you for having us.
I'm Steve Clark. I represent Southwest Washington County and Southwest Portland, and a former resident of Gresham from 1983 to 1988.
I'm Allen Bethel, and I have basically northeast Portland.
Good, thank you. And my district is Washington County, so that's my background. Been out there for a number of years. I want you to know we're really happy to be here in one of the great communities that we serve. And as we work to engage our communities more, you'll see more of us on a regular basis out there. Board Member Stovall, I think they know you, and today we are in your district. So if you want to tell folks where your district is, you can do that, but I think they know. Question is, do you have some things you'd like to say to us, the board, and other folks in the audience about being out here?
Certainly. You know, there's somebody said once that there's two places you don't want to get in front of Travis Stovall in. That's the buffet line and the microphone. So whenever I get a chance to actually say a few words, I take them. I want to first welcome everybody to Gresham. My commute this morning was all of 3 minutes, which I greatly appreciate. Just across the parking lot, as a matter of fact, I do live in a transit-oriented building just right there by Civic Station. So I was very excited when Civic Station went in. People accused me of actually putting it in just for my sake. I tell them that is not true, but it does help that it sits right outside my door. So I greatly appreciate that. Again, I want to welcome everybody here to Gresham this morning, a great area. East Metro, also we call it out here because it also includes our other 3 cities that exist out here. And certainly want to thank TriMet for having the forward thinking to get out to the communities that we serve and begin to actually engage the individuals in those communities so that they can feel like they have an opportunity to be engaged and give their comments and their input and their thoughts and ideas. Gresham, as we know, was the initial place that the Max line was originally put in back in the 80s. And also we're going to hear some comments on what we call renewing the blue, which is going to be exciting, about making sure that we maintain our platforms and Max lines in ways that enhances our communities. So again, we're excited that the board meeting is here. President Warner, we thank you for your leadership and making sure that we get out and about. And want to welcome everybody here or encourage everybody here this morning that even though we're out here in Gresham, and this gives you an opportunity to be close to home to make it to this meeting, we also want to encourage you to make it down to meetings that aren't in this area or in the other areas so that you have an opportunity to stay engaged and informed of what's going on in TriMet. So again, thank everybody for coming this morning. There's still food in the back. Make sure you take some of that. And this is really the only day in East County that it rains. Other than that, East County's always sunny.
Thank you, Director Stovall. And I had an opportunity to meet a number of you in the reception. So I know we have many jurisdictional partners here today. We have 3 of them who will speak before the board here this morning. I want you to know that all 3 of them are very supportive of our efforts, and without that support, we would not be able to get much done here in East County, or for that matter, throughout the Portland metro region. So first off, I'd like to welcome a huge supporter of TriMet, Multnomah County Commissioner Diane McKeel. Please come on up.
Thank you very much. much. I'm Diane McKeel, Multnomah County Commissioner, and I'll start off by dating myself, but I was here when our line opened, here in the first line opened in Gresham. I was part of the celebration event. I think it was my job to find all the volunteers for the event. So.
You did it well.
Thank you. It was a great day for us out here. Anyway, I want to thank you for inviting me to be here with you today, and I really appreciate your coming to East County for your board meeting. As the Multnomah County Commissioner for this district, I applaud your outreach to us. Multnomah County and TriMet share a commitment to the East County communities, which include a wide range of income and rich diversity. There are several ways that our work at the county intersects with TriMet. It is important to us when we're citing new county facilities like libraries, health clinics, and our new courthouse that they are close to public transportation. Because we encourage alternative transportation for our employees, they have bus passes that they use all over the metro region. As we plan for the future, our health department reminds us that transportation infrastructure is critical to our health. We are learning that neighborhoods that have access to active transportation have better health outcomes than neighborhoods that are isolated. Good transit service is vital to Multnomah County, and we appreciate the effort TriMet has made to increase access to bus and rail for residents of East Multnomah County. We've benefited from the improvements to the Rockville Transit Station, renewal of the 181st Street Station, and improvements to the east side max stops and pedestrian crossings. While you've been making these improvements, I've been working with other local leaders to define our long-term transportation strategies that will be of most benefit to the people and businesses in East Multnomah County. The completion of the East Metro Connections Plan represented a coming together of East County cities of Gresham, Fairview, Troutdale, and Wood Village, along with Multnomah County, to look at present and future transportation challenges. Then we presented solutions that reflect the values of our communities. The plan supports economic and community development by providing better access and mobility, increasing safety, activating employment areas, and helping people find their way through and to key destinations in the East Metro area. You have my commitment to continue to work hard on increasing access to transit with sidewalks and safe crossings to help students, employees, and residents use TriMet to meet their daily needs. I just want to tell you a story about a satisfied customer who I met last year. Some of you may recall that in the summer of 2011, Multnomah County hosted the National Association of Counties annual conference. 2,500 county commissioners and their family members came to the Northwest from all over the country. This was the first time that the conference did not rely on expensive private coaches to shuttle attendees to all their destinations. Instead, conference attendees used the MAX trains to get from their hotels to the convention center, to and from the airport, and other attractions such as the zoo, the South Waterfront, and shopping areas. We were met with some skepticism from people who did not believe that our visitors would embrace this form of transportation. Many of the commissioners who I talked with had never tried public transportation before, either coming from very rural areas or parts of the country where the service is not as convenient and popular as we are here. Once they arrived at the convention center, attendees were offered a free 3-day pass, which TriMet generously donated to our conference. And I can't tell you how many people came up to me telling me about their train adventures and places they had visited using those 3-day passes. We also saved tens of thousands of dollars on the event and cut down on pollution by providing public transportation. One of my favorite stories was from a tall, distinguished white-haired commissioner from Etowah County, Alabama, who had never taken public transportation before. He looked at a map and decided he wanted to go up to the Rose Garden in Washington Park and take a picture of it for his wife. She loved roses and she was too ill to make the trip with him. He found the rose garden and he rode up there every day with his transit pass to take a new picture for his wife. And he thanked us for providing the means for him to do that. So the thanks really belongs to you all, and I'm passing that along. So I think sometimes we're so used to having a robust transit system that we forget how lucky we are. So thank you for providing the means for a visitor to take in the amenities of the city, and thank you for providing services for residents to move throughout the region. Let's continue to work together to make sure East Multnomah County can flourish. People in our area need easy access to services, and we also want safe routes to schools and convenient access to business and shopping. We want people to visit our area and find out what makes our cities unique. Whether they choose to enjoy the art walk in Gresham or lunch with a friend in Troutdale, let's make sure that people have choices on how they get here. Thank you so much for taking part in making that happen. Thank you for being here. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming and making the comments, and also for the stories about what happened in the conference. That's very, very special and very important to us to have that service available. So again, thank you. I forgot to mention that we do have one director who's not present today, Consuelo Zaragoza, who actually her district is the inner southeast, and also happens to be a manager in one of the behavioral health programs. So again, we miss her today, and I'm sorry she's not here, but again, thank you for coming. So I'd like to now is also welcome a true partner of ours, Metro Councilor Shirley Craddock, and I just now had the opportunity to finally meet her. I apologize for not doing that before. Please come on up.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to meet with you. I'm very honored and flattered, and the Metro Regional Government truly knows and feels that TriMet is a wonderful partner. So thank you so much for all that you do. I'm here today representing several different parts of my life. One of them is I'm an East Multnomah County resident. I'm a resident of Gresham. I'm a MAX rider. I use MAX as often as I can to get to and from the Metro building. And I'm also on the Metro Council. Of course, the Metro Council really embraces transit, really knows what it can do to make a robust region. I believe that our transit system is incredibly important to our community. Residents must be able to get around efficiently, easily, and affordably. Every rider on a bus or a train is not driving a vehicle. And transit increases our capacity on our streets, on our highways, reduces our carbon emissions, air toxins, and our demand for petroleum. But transit also influences our economy, and by helping our residents be able to get to and from work. So transit is an integral part to making a great community and a great region, and I fully support the role that it plays. So I thank you for your interest and your effort in participating in these discussions, being a partner with Metro and all the cities in the region. And it's my goal as a Metro Councilor to do all I can to help you get your job done. However, I feel we have some challenges, and that we need to all overcome. And this is not just something that TriMet needs to overcome, or a city overcomes, or Metro, but it's a regional challenges. And in my opinion, there are four of them. One of them is the perception of safety. Our public must feel safe before they go to use the transit system. So, and I know that you're doing a lot already, and you have done a lot. I know you've made it a high priority to make the transit system safer and made wonderful progress. I'm really pleased with having more fare inspectors on the rail, and particularly I really enjoy it when someone gets a ticket because they haven't paid, and they no longer give them an option. They say, do you have your proof of payment? And they say no, and they get a ticket. And it really has changed the dynamic on the MAX, and I really appreciate that. But we need to make sure that the entire region, is similar to what Commissioner McKeel made, is those people that don't use the system to also feel and think that it's a safe. And we need to do more on learning and figuring out how we're going to make that happen. Is how do we help everybody think it's a safe system so they're going to use it. Number two is we need to figure out what we can do to help the region feel and think that the transit system is a benefit for their community. That it isn't a system that's going to bring crime or bring poor people to their community, but it really is an asset, and it actually is an upgrade to their community. To get public support for a transit system, they have to value that this is a benefit. And in my opinion, this is one of the challenges that we have, is how are we going to make this happen? How are we going to help those residents of Clackamas County value this as much as the rest of us? One thing, though, I think that I have felt is, as a resident of East Multnomah County, is that I know there, oftentimes you'll hear, oh, the rail brought, the Max Line, original Blue Line, brought crime to the east part of the metro region. I don't agree with that. I think there's many other factors that have influenced that. And one of those factors, I think, is the development that has occurred along the rail line. I think we need to do all we can to build great development along any kind of a transit corridor. We should put our best facilities there, where people want to live there because they choose to live there or bring their business there, but not because it's just affordable. And I think we need to put much more attention into design standards and what that built environment looks like. I think one thing that's happened in the east part of the region is that a lot of the development that occurred in the 70s, 60s, and 70s was built without attention to character, was built without attention to detail, and now it's become the for-profit affordable housing for our region. And so that it creates a different dynamic. And so I value and I know Metro is our transit-oriented development program. We do all we can to help you build great buildings along the corridors. Number 3, I think we need to make transit as accessible as we can. And I know this is a financial constraint, and you're doing all you can. The East Metro Connection Plan really showed there's the need that we have to create more north-south connections. And I know that that's your goal, and you'll do that as soon as you can find the funding to make that happen. But I'm really excited that we hopefully can make some progress with the Powell Division Corridor Study. As you probably know, Metro has applied for funding for this study, and hopefully we're going to learn in the near future that we receive some funding for this to be able to take this a step further, because I think it really has some opportunities for the east part of the region. Light rail can easily take a decade from the day we start planning to the day we get it built. But I think a bus rapid transit system, which this might have some possibilities for that, this corridor, is really promising and we can get it in place. I think the fourth challenge that we have is how do you make this, the transit a regional value where it's a regional goal? Transit is not just something that TriMet does, it's not just something that Metro does, it's just not something that cities do, but this is something for everybody. And I recently, I know Mr. McFarland was down at Rail Evolution, and I encourage you, if you ever have an opportunity to attend that conference, to do so. But the city of LA, as you may already know, in the recent past, ballot measure, where they received 2/3 majority vote and put into funding $40 billion to upgrade their transit system. Looking at building bus rapid transit, commuter rail, subway, other bus lines. And because they value and they know that that transit system is key to helping Los Angeles economy, without being able to get around easily and affordably, and helping reduce capacity or improve capacity on the roads, the city, it will be to the city's demise. So how do we create that same value and interest in the Portland region that LA is doing, to help people feel and value that the transit system really is for the betterment of the greater good. So I am more than glad to do all I can to help you with that, to do what I can as a Metro Councilor. And so thank you for visiting and being here today in Gresham, for your interest in this, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much, Councilor. Very informative, and I think we also share your common desires in terms of the transit system. Again, thanks for taking the time this morning to come talk with us. The last person I had on the list was going to be Mayor Shane Bemis, but he could not be with us today because of other commitments. But Ron Tapsdorf, the Government Relations Manager, is here to speak on his behalf. Do I see Ron? There he is. Come on up. Oh, we have a counselor too. I forgot your name, but you'll remind us.
With your indulgence,
please.
I've invited Councilor Laura Stegman to join me here. Mayor Bemis sends his regrets to you that he couldn't be here this morning, but we couldn't be more pleased that you're here in Gresham and East Metro area, visiting us, seeing what's happening out here, seeing the transit system, and hearing from the local community about transit issues in the East Metro area. Mayor Bemis wanted me to send along his sincere thanks for you being here and for our many partnerships, both past, present, and future, around our service interests and intersections with TriMet, the important TriMet services that are provided to the community. We've had great success with rehabilitating the Rockwood 188th Light Rail Station in Rockwood, a key infrastructure component that will help our continuing efforts to revitalize that part of our community, along with the improvements that our urban renewal district has funded to improve and make access safer to those light rail stations that serve that community, along with our other infrastructure improvements. Our partnership with TriMet around those issues has been important. The other aspect is the past and continuing and opportunities for development around the transit stations in Gresham, both in Rockwood but also here in the Civic neighborhood and downtown. That transit access that's provided by Max Light Rail is an extremely important component to our community visions for development, redevelopment in those areas and in those neighborhoods. And as board member Stovall indicated, that Civic Drive station is a huge success, serves a great many people that now live in Civic neighborhood, and really will spur and our opportunities in working with Metro and TriMet to see the additional properties around that station develop, hopefully very soon. The mayor also wanted me to pass on his sincere thanks and the community's thanks for TriMet's continued commitment to public safety issues on transit and the dedicated East Precinct transit police services here in Gresham and the East Metro area. The community couldn't be more grateful for that commitment on the part of TriMet in partnership with all the public safety agencies throughout the region. They've made a huge difference in terms of making people feel more safe and secure on the transit system, and we continue to be committed to that continuing partnership with TriMet. One issue that the mayor wanted to express to you today, since you're out in the East County area, is the continuing challenges that we face at the Gresham Central Light Rail Station in downtown Gresham. I think we learned a couple of years ago that it takes practically an act of Congress to remove a previously installed piece of public art on TriMet property. And the art issue aside, although it's part of it, I think we're anxious to work with TriMet to try to address the kind of nuisance that exists at the Gresham Central Station. It's showing its age in a not very well. It's suffering from significant decay. It's suffering from lack of maintenance, and it's important to us because of the central role that those MAX stations play in our ability to attract new urban development around those stations. That's not only important to our community revitalization efforts, but is essential to the continued success of the TriMet facilities and growing more riders for the system. So with that, again, I want to express the mayor's thanks and gratitude for you being here today, for our partnerships and our continued work together, and asking for some help on addressing kind of one key issue that we're facing today. Thank you. And then if Councilor Stegman wants to make any comments.
Thank you, Ron. Well, I wanted to thank the board for coming out to Gresham and giving us this opportunity to meet with you. I understand that your board, like our city council, is a highly paid volunteer board. So I think that's an oxymoron. But however, I just wanted to express my gratitude as a volunteer. I know what a commitment it takes to serve on a board. So I was mentioning to a couple of you that I had met this morning how in today's climate it's so important that we all work together and how we're all in this together. We are so interdependent on one another. And so I truly appreciate you coming out here and giving me as a counselor the opportunity to meet each one of you. I wanted to share one little story with you. I have a sister from, she lives in Cartersville, Georgia, near Atlanta. And she visits frequently, and she loves Portland. And she gets on the light rail, the bus system, and if you've not had the transportation system that we have, this is amazing. I mean, she goes, her daughter lives in on Mississippi, I live in Gresham. She gets on light rail buses. and she goes everywhere. And so she is just so appreciative. So it's nice to see from other people's viewpoints who don't live here what an amazing transit system we truly have. So, you know, we've got work to do, but I think you should also pat yourselves on the back. And just another thing I shared too is that I was actually on the art committee for the art in Rockwood, which I absolutely love. And I was sharing that I have to drive past the artwork every morning, and with the darker hours, that literally when I drive to work and I look at the artwork illuminated, it makes me smile. And when I drive home at night, it makes me smile. And I really think that a lot of people that live in Rockwood and work in Rockwood feel that same way too. And I hope that they do, because Rockwood deserves to have a wonderful transit center, as does every part of our city. So I wanted to thank you for your work and welcome you to Gresham.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor. Thank you, Ron. Really appreciate I want to thank all of you for your public service and your continuing support of TriMet. I think, Ron, it's important, maybe you want to stick around, because we're going to have a little presentation in the General Manager's report on some of the East County revitalization efforts that we want to undertake out here in this plan, and you'll give us the update on where we are in that. But again, thank you all for coming. We'll jump right into our normal business meeting then. So, Mr. General Manager, I'm sorry. You can, please go ahead.
I'll be remiss if I didn't introduce actually one of my bosses in the back of the room, and she is the president for East Metro Economic Alliance, and that's Kathy Clevenger. So she is the president of the board for East Metro Economic Alliance. We thank her for being in attendance, and also Dr. Michael Hay, who is the president of Mount Hood Community College. So we want to thank both of them for being in attendance this morning.
Great, thank you. You bet, my pleasure. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. General Manager, to give us your General Manager's report.
Well, thank you, Mr. Board President, members of the board, and members of the Gresham community. We're very pleased to be out here this morning. I do have a few of our normal mundane updates, and then we'll get into, I think, the exciting work about revitalizing, renewing the blue, and we'll have a presentation on that. I did want to update you on one item that has come before the board in the past, and that is, you might recall, the lift restrictions, weight restrictions on lift. And based on a complaint that we actually received and our further investigation of that complaint with the federal government in terms of their interpretation of the ADA guidelines that are out, we have decided to change our weight restrictions from what was a 600-pound maximum now to an 800-pound maximum. And again, most of our newer equipment is rated for the 800-pound level, and that's why that change was made. There may be occasions where a piece of equipment may not be rated at 800, and so we'll work hard to make sure that the trips are matched with the right equipment. And we're sending our advance apologies to those who may be affected by that mismatch on occasion, but we'll work hard to avoid that. I might note that there are a number of other lift customers who are affected by this policy change, and so we're in the business of notifying them and going through the files and making sure that everybody who's affected understands the policy change and the issues associated with it. So I wanted to update you on that issue. I also wanted to update you on, I think, what is one of the initiatives I've been very grateful for the board's support on, which is new buses. We now have 15 new buses in service. They're continuing to be added to the system at a rate of 3 to 5 per week, and they're going through their checks and beginning to be added as that occurs. We have them now on the number 72 and the number 9, so they will be here in Gresham on the Powell line. These are 2 lines that are close to the Powell garage, and unlike some of the new cars, which of course come off like a Swiss watch out of the assembly lines, these are more custom products, and so you do see the need to bring them back to the garage for tunes and for not literal tune-ups, but tune-ups of one system or another as they are broken in. So that's one of the reasons we have them assigned to these 2 lines that are close to the service that they can receive on the Powell garage. So that will continue. We have 4 hybrids that are still coming, and we'll keep you abreast on when they actually arrive. But just a reminder that these are the first series of new buses that the board has supported in terms of renewing the bus fleet, 55 this year, 68 next year. And the pace of that renewal in the future is something I do want to talk further with the board about as we get into budget deliberations for the next year and whether or not there's an opportunity to begin to even think about accelerating that. We're also taking advantage of every opportunity to reach out to federal grants that can help speed that replacement because, as you know, we're behind the dime on that, and it's a huge priority for us to update that bus fleet. Another area where we have gotten behind the dime over the Great Recession is on the replacement of our ticket vending machines. And we have stretched them just about as long as some of them will go. And as many of you know, this is an item that we care deeply about and we receive a lot of complaints about. We are, thanks to our contract that you've approved in the past, replacing 120 of our machines system-wide. We are replacing what we call our Type 3 machines. This is a little bit of an exaggeration, but I think they run Windows 98, if not Windows 2000. And so you begin to install new software on them, and you can almost hear the creaking that goes on with that. So these new Type 6 machines, as we now know them, will be installed throughout the system. We're, again, installing those at a rate of about 3 to 4 per week. Again, 120 will be replaced in total. We actually have new machines out here in Gresham. Our very first refurbished machine was installed at Cleveland. We also have them right out here at Gresham City Hall and at Ruby Junction 197. The replacement schedule is defined by the problem reports that we get on the existing machines. So the worst ones are being replaced first. And so that will take place until early spring next year. And again, we think that this will make a very big difference in terms of the overall reliability of the ticket vending machines on the system. I also wanted to give you a quick update on Portland-Milwaukee construction and the local connection to that. The project at this point in time is 29.5% complete and 29% project cost is incurred. So in other words, we're right where we need to be in terms of the project in the ground and the budget. To put a little exclamation point on this progress, we're actually installing the first rail for the project in Lincoln Street, in downtown Portland, in November. So as you perhaps have seen, Lincoln Street has really transformed, and it is in a high state of completion at this point in time compared to the rest of the alignment. But we'll start there and begin to work our way south with rail. And again, being here in Gresham, I wanted to update you on the expansion of the Ruby Junction facility. I know all of you have spent some time there at one point or another. The expansion of the project for the Portland-Milwaukee project for the Ruby Junction base will allow us to install, store, and maintain an additional 18 light rail vehicles. So that project will be coming to the board, I think, for contract approval here shortly. We expect it to actually, the construction to start in January of next year with completion in fall of 2014. The construction includes 2 full maintenance bases, replacement wash bay, expansion of the LRV storage yard, and some reconfigured parking to accommodate all of that. I would also note that we have been doing a lot of puzzle work because one of the things we wanted to make sure this expansion allowed is the plug-in of the additional construction that would be required for the Columbia River Crossing expansion of the yard, and that's another 19 light rail vehicles and additional capacity for maintenance. So there's a little bit of expansion of the site here here in Gresham that I think is important. And again, we'll see the progress of that as the project progresses. And finally, I wanted to get to the main event, which is not me, but I have the opportunity to bring up Alan Lato, who's our Director of Planning and Policy Development, and also Harry Supporter, who's our Executive for Safety and Security, to share with you a little bit about what, as you've heard, we call Renew the Blue, which is our effort over a period of time to improve and bring to the state of current repair, or current state of good repair, all of our east side stations and facilities. And I would also note, you'll see a lot about the physical infrastructure, but that renew piece also talks to our actual vehicles, as well as the complicated infrastructure that's on the ground. It's also, given the age and time and where of climate, continues to need repair. So Alan, take it away.
Thanks, Neil. So Harry and I will be talking about Renewable Blue, but also in general about east side improvements that we've either made or are planning to make. And I apologize for making you turn around and look at this, but a lot of this stuff is good visual, so it's worth looking at. One worth mentioning is in the service change that just happened this September, although unfortunately there certainly were some trims around the region, there also was some ability to use some efficiency in rethinking how exactly things were configured. Too much detail to go into, but there were actually some benefits on the east side, so that the Line 9 Powell, which will be having those new buses operating on it, also is operating more frequently all the way to Gresham instead of ending at 98th, which is what half the buses used to do. So for all intents and purposes, though we're still wringing efficiency out of all of this, it's actually a service upgrade for that stretch of Powell. We also were able to, in that same service change, link two lines that were serving two halves of 181st and 182nd, and actually turn that into a single line so that people don't have to be forcing a transfer there, and connect, make one of those north-south connections that we know there is so much interest in East Metro, but we haven't been able to serve as well yet. So this is one sort of incremental move towards that. We've also done a number of improvements that Councilor Craddock and others have mentioned. The Civic Drive improvement, the Rockwood Station, here's the before, and then the after, of course, with the all-new station location and security enhancements and the art portion of it. Really focusing in then on Renew the Blue, which is taking what is now a 26-year-old light rail line and refurbishing those items that really need it, both in terms of attractiveness, but really also focusing in on safety and comfort to ensure that what we now know about how to design and how to light and how to make sure that stations are visible and comfortable can really start to happen in this case. So little things that are already out there are things like changing the lighting fixtures from something that was kind of beaming light all over the place to something that actually puts it down on the platform so that people can see where they are and they can see what's going on the platform. And also putting in, it's a little bit hard to see on this small picture, but putting in some guide rails and ways to help channel people to the safest place to cross the tracks, the safest way to move about the station in a way that really makes it more comfortable to go there and safer for both our operations and for our passengers. And so the opportunity for the Renew the Blue efforts will really be a lot of that whole range of everything from improving shelters, making it more attractive, making it more comfortable, at least in some cases, if not in all, doing things like moving the ticket machines so that we have a truly fair paved zone for the entire station, but also opening up sight lines and increasing visibility to make that as safe as possible. So here's a great example. This is what it looked like in 1986. This was probably the best thinking of what we needed to do. Create a real shelter, create a place, create some place that you could sort of shelter in while you were waiting probably a long time perhaps, or not really waiting for something you weren't quite used to. And now just a relatively simple fix, but very much more open, very much more comforting. There's no way somebody can hide in there. Here at Gresham Central, again, a pretty significant change in terms of the openness and the visibility of that, as well as guiding our passengers to the safest places to be. And here, a better shot of that to get a sense of how we're helping people understand where it's safe to cross and encouraging good and safe behavior.
I wanted to point out one feature that you notice with the previous slide. with the channelization, not only did we provide a pathway for the pedestrians, but what we also did here is we made a security improvement, and that was by delineating the platform, and we said that if you are on the side where the shelter is, that is a paid zone. So from a law enforcement standpoint, it made it much easier to enforce that sort of requirement and discourage loitering in the station area. Unfortunately, we couldn't cordon off the area to the left of the railing because that is a public sidewalk. So we wanted to make it clear where the station was as opposed to the public sidewalk as well. And in this area, it's again, it's carrying out that theme of delineating the station from the public sidewalk area and then reinforcing the pedestrian pathways to a safe crossing location. This is a slide that depicts lighting and how we've improved the lighting. So if you look at the lighting slide that's to the left, that was what our previous thinking was just provide enough lighting so that people felt relatively comfortable, but we've now learned that that's really not the right approach. People do want something that is relatively well lit, and so that there is a increased perceived sense of safety. It also enhances visibility. With that, there is less likely to be some sort of commission of crime because people can see someone approaching them, or those that pass by can see the area much better as well.
And the thing to pay attention there also that I learned from Harry is, on the left, that shelter is very brightly lit, but on the right, it's uniform throughout the entire area, and it's both the brightness and that uniformity that's important for that sense of comfort. And so those are the kinds of things we're going to be paying attention to as we're moving forward, trying to go basically priority by priority in terms of focusing on the highest level safety issues first, which are lighting and those lines of sight and channelization, but also looking at how we can make changes to do more of those fair paid zones, like Harry pointed out, to be able to change those stations to places that feel more controlled and are more visible and more comfortable. I just wanted to mention two other things. One is our East Side Service Enhancements Plan, which we'll be conducting starting next year, which is really about taking a look at our entire bus network on the East Side. And it's been a little while since we've really sort of taken the lid off of that and said, is it meeting the needs? Are we able to make any changes now or in the future that could better meet the needs? And so we'll be doing that starting in 2013, talking to stakeholders, talking to neighborhood groups, talking to business groups, talking to the various jurisdictions around the East Metro area to understand what kinds of changes and opportunities there are and what we should consider in terms of near-term adjustments and improvements as well as long-term growth. And then the last one that Councilor Craddock mentioned was the PAL division bus rapid transit concept of looking at PAL and or division as corridors for bus rapid transit improvements, which increases the reliability, decreases the travel time, and improves the visibility of the service along the corridor. And there's some great places to think about linking, including some of the ones that are pointed out here, between PSU and South Waterfront and OHSU, PCC's new campus at Southeast 82nd Division, Mount Hood Community College here, as well as downtown Gresham and perhaps Gresham Vista, the development area there. So all of these, both the Service Enhancements Plan and the BRT, are efforts that we expect to get underway during 2013. The Renew the Blue is a multi-year ongoing construction and partnership project. The other thing that I don't have a slide for, but I should mention, is that partnership about access to transit, which I presented to you before, is really important too. All of the cities in the East Metro area have made some real commitments to improving sidewalks, improving access, and those help people get to our services as well, and that's a really important partnership. See if Jerry wanted to add anything else.
We continue to make security improvements. You heard earlier about some of the concerns with Gresham Central. We're attempting to address those issues, but there's a number of challenges, and if you'd like more information about that, we can provide that sometime in the future.
Any comments or questions for these two? Okay, Steve?
Thank you. So how are the improvements by location prioritized? I understand funding is limited, but how do you establish what comes first, what comes second?
We actually use a couple of different approaches. One is to look at where do we have incidents themselves, but we don't want to wait for the incident to react. So we also rely on our workforce to give us information. We call that close call reporting. So if there is a near miss, we would like to know about those events, and they are usually pretty good about letting us know, so we try and address that. Also, on the security side, we also rely on our transit police to give us information. And then the last component is obviously from our customers and letting us know if there are issues. So we use all of those things to make those assessments.
So a couple of follow-ups. As we create a platform environment that's more safe and managed, a fair area, how distributed are behaviors outside of that fair area, and to the extent that we have transit police and community policing by jurisdictions, do we find that some of those behaviors that may not be appropriate are moved just outside of that area, either actual behaviors or the appearance of presence, and do we find that we're distributing, and I'm not suggesting that's not a bad thing, I'm saying how do we then encourage community presence, policing, whether it's through the sheriff's office, which I realize is limited, and do municipalities ruling the day, or with the police officers. So can we provide for the fact that the impacts don't occur just outside?
No, you're absolutely correct. The behaviors in the neighborhood influence behaviors on the platform. And we work very, very closely with our police partners. And we have close working relationships with them. We try and coordinate our activities with those jurisdictional partners. I truly believe that it is a community policing approach that we take. And I'm trying to think of some specific examples. Perhaps one of the examples is something that happened just yesterday. And that is we carried out a mission called Bus Safe. And although it wasn't on Max Line specific, we do have another mission called Operation Rail Safe, which does focus on the Max. But that's where we actually partner with our other police partners. We create a strategy to deploy officers to certain locations. And it's random. We don't pick the same locations each time. It's different because we want to give a sense of a presence just about everywhere. And so what we do ask is that the local police agencies also add additional officers to help us with those types of missions. I think that helps us to increase our presence, or at least a sense of being at different locations at different times, and it's unpredictable.
Good. The last is sort of a marketing question. Is there the opportunity to reintroduce the blue line to East Multnomah County, Mid Multnomah County, so that as these improvements are made, people who may have experienced station platform design, visual safety, and so forth, and say, I don't want anything to do with that, or now no, it's different, and it's modern, and it's fresh, and it's appealing, it's safe. How can we engage in that over time?
I believe we can. We absolutely can.